Oh no, my pants zipper is too long for the pants I need to sew it into. What am I going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to shorten a pant zipper. And this is a question that I got from one of my pants fitting students that I taught in Iowa a couple weekends ago. This is a good time to bring up another thing about me and my teaching and my passion for pants fitting or bodice fitting or really any class that I teach. When you take a class from me, I'm going to help you until you have whatever it is you came for in that class. So for example, if you take a pants fitting class and you're not done at the end of class, I'm going to help you after the class is over. So this is an example of something I might do. Produce a specific video for a student because I don't have it on my channel. Sometimes I'll hop on a Zoom and I will help you that way. Or sometimes it's just a quick email back and forth Q&A. But it's really important to me to support my students after a workshop is over. And since I'm talking about workshops, I'm going to mention one more thing before I start talking about how to shorten a pants zipper. I am having my last 3-day pants fitting class on October 10, 11, and 12 in Manchester, Connecticut at the Hampton Inn. It's going to be a little bit different from previous formats. This time I'm inviting you to bring your in-progress pants, muslins, and patterns, and we'll start there. Now this is going to be a unique opportunity for everyone in the class because you're going to get to see different examples of where people are stuck. And this is sometimes the best way to learn how to fit pants when you're in the middle of the process and then you need to figure out how to either back up or go forward to finish to get the result you're looking for. So I'm going to be applying my efficient workflow to pants fitting. We may bring some of these full muslins back down to a single leg, for example, or we may decide to make some changes to the pattern and start with a fresh muslin, or we may be able to work with the 2-leg muslin that we have. It's just going to depend on what's going on with each individual muslin. So if you're interested in checking out the details about that class, I'm putting a link in the description below. It's the last 3-day pants fitting that I'm offering in 2026, and there are 8 spots left. I'm keeping it to 10 because I want to do a deep dive and really be able to help everybody during this 3-day pants fitting. One common question I get about my 3-day pants fitting classes is, when does it end? So I just want to run through quickly. The workshop runs from 9 to 5 on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is Columbus or Indigenous People Day this year. And by Sunday, in previous workshops, most students were finished shortly after lunch. Usually by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I'm packing up to go home because everyone is done. So those are the hours of the workshop. If you're flying into Bradley International Airport, I will pick you up so you don't have to get an Uber. And it's a really good time. So if anyone's interested in that, again, check the description below. And now let's get on to the topic at hand, how to shorten a pants zipper. Now the first thing I'm going to do is show you a few different zippers here. And it's important to work with the right zipper. And not all zippers are created equal. For example, in this selection of zippers I have a nylon coil zipper, I have a metal zipper, and I have another metal zipper that is a jean zipper. So these two are pants, this one is jeans. And when I show you how to shorten the zipper, I'm going to work with the jean zipper because it's a little bit bigger and the teeth are a little bit shinier, so I think you'll be able to see better. If you have a zipper that is the right length, you can use any of these to sew your pants. So if you needed a 6-inch zipper, for example, this zipper would work because the pull is here and you've got the 6 inches to work with, including the seam allowance up at the top. The reason why you can't use this nylon zipper on a pair of pants if it's too long is because it doesn't have a locking tab. Notice how when I flick this pull back and forth, it just jiggles Like nothing stops it. It'll just swing back and forth. And actually I can, dangle it like this. That means it does not have a locking tab. Now, what does a locking tab do for you? A locking tab will keep the zipper up even if it's not seated into these top stops. So you'll notice these little silver metal pieces at the top of the zipper are the top stops. When you zipper the zipper all the way up, the top stops prevent it from sliding down. Now, if you shorten your zipper from the top and you cut off those top stops, then there's nothing to prevent the zipper from sliding down when you're wearing it. Now, you can cut it from the bottom and sew a bar tack over the bottom to shorten it, but if you've already sewed it into your pants, which is the specific question of the student that I'm answering this for, and you have to shorten it from the top, what you're going to have to do is, you can sew in some fabric stops to help hold it there, or you can purchase zipper repair kits on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description below for those. And you can actually buy the little metal stops and then crimp them back on with pliers. Okay, and it's just a matter of, putting them on and squeezing them on with a pair of pliers. And I'm not going to share that today. Now let me show you a tab that does lock. This is a jean zipper, and I just want to show you, see how it stands up? And if I wiggle it, it doesn't move. That's because this has a lock on it. So if I wanted to shorten the zipper from the top, I could. And if I remove these top stops, it's not going to matter because there's a lock built into the pull. And then I want to share one other zipper with you. This is actually my preferred zipper. These are Excella zippers by YKK, and I get them at Wawak. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Now, this pull does flick around like the one that doesn't have a lock. Okay, so it does flick around, but it also has a locking tab. So I don't know how they did that. It's probably encased inside there, inside the actual pull itself, and the little tab you pull it up and down with has nothing to do with the locking, whereas this one, the tab is actually part of the lock. So this one is a more high-end zipper. I love this zipper. I also love the fact that the teeth are very small, and I wish you could reach in and pull the tab with me. It's got a very smooth feel when you zip and unzip. So these are like luxury zippers, and they're not, exorbitantly priced. They're $4 and something cents on Wawak. So Excella zippers are my favorite. You can shorten them from the top or the bottom because it does have a locking tab, even though the pull flicks back and forth and it looks like a loosey-goosey like this nylon one. All right, so that's my little review of zippers. Now let me show you, I have a muzzle in here, and I just want to label some things about, what you're going to do with the zipper. All right, so what I did here is I have my, and let me just do it like this. I think it'll be easier for you to see if I lay it like this, actually. Okay, so what we've got is, this is my zipper seam allowance. Now, if you're working with a cut-on fly, it would be longer, but the length, determining the length would work out to be the same. So this is my zipper seam allowance. This is the 1/2 inch seam allowance for the top of the pants right here. And what I did was I marked how you would figure out the total length of your zipper. And if I bring in, let's say, this zipper, you can see that this zipper is going to be a little bit too long. Okay, you basically want the bar tack to line up maybe, 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch at the bottom of your zipper seam allowance, so it's not extending into the front crotch. So I would position it like this. So if I lay it right here, so you can see, okay, you can see that this zipper is approximately 1 inch too long. Okay, because what you want is, from the bottom, you want the bottom stop, which is this metal piece right here to be lined up, you know, approximately 1/2 inch from the bottom. And then at the top, you're going to want the zipper or the top stops to end up right here. Okay, so the top stops are actually equal or just below the seam allowance for the waistband, and the twill tapes will stick up to the raw edge of your fabric. So that's the length you're looking for. So you can see this one's a little bit too long. You see this one? This one's a little bit too short, see? So you always want to use something that's either the right length or too long. Now this one is too long, and this is the one we're going to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my bar tack where I want it, and then I'm going to take a piece of chalk and I'm going to mark 2 places here. I am going to mark where I want the top stops to be, you know, just below the seam allowance for the waistline. And then I'm also going to mark the top of the waistline. Okay, so I've got these 2 marks right here. Okay, now I'm going to put this away. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate my not fabulous scissors. You don't want to work with your good scissors on this project. So I'm going to work with these Fiskar scissors because they're not my best scissors here. You can buy a kit on Amazon to shorten a zipper. It comes with pliers to pull out the teeth and also snips. I'll put a link in the description below for that as well. I'm trying to show you how to shorten a zipper without any special equipment or tools in this video. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unzip my zipper. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut the twill tape at the mark I made for the top of, or the full length of the zipper, meaning this is where the top raw edge of the pants are. So I'm just going to cut that off first. And I'm going to come in from the twill tape side, and I'm just nudging the very tip of my blade between the teeth, like that. And I'm going to squeeze it, and it comes right out. All right, and as you can see, I cut on the wrong line. So there's a boo-boo for you. So just to keep going here, let me just cut this. Okay, I'm going to nudge the teeth right in there. I'm going to pull that off. And then I'm just going to redraw those 1/2 inch below for where the top stop needs to be. All right. Okay, so now that I cut off the extra, okay, so, and I'm going to color this white so you can see here. This is the actual seam allowance, or this end of the zipper is going to be in between the waistband and the facing. So we don't want the teeth there, because as you wear your pants, they're going to rub and you might actually wear holes in the waistband or the waistband facing. So the next step is I'm going to come here and I'm literally just going to come down the side and I'm going to trim off the teeth in the seam allowance that is inside the pants or inside the waistband. So I'm just going to get rid of those. Okay, so you can see what we have now. Let me just get rid of one more here. All right, so you can see what we have now is we have basically a shortened zipper. Notice what's happening up here. The twill tape is very likely to fray. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some Fray Check. This is a liquid that you put on things that keeps things from fraying. And whenever I get a new bottle of Fray Check, I sub in the original cap for a pin to be my cap, because then every time I take the pin out, it's not glued shut. If you use the original cap, what happens is every time you take it out to use it, you're going to have to use a pin to poke in there. So I use a a pin to be the top of my fray check. Isn't that cute? So I'm just going to go ahead and treat the top cut edge of my zipper with this fray check, and that will keep it from fraying. Okay, now the other danger zone I'm at this point is you can unzip the pull. You can unzip this slider right off the zipper now because there's nothing stopping it. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've done that. Now again, if you have the zipper fixing little kit that I have a link in the description below for, you can actually put metal stops back on to prevent the slide from pulling off. You know, if you're not going to put new metal stops on, then you have to do something to prevent the zipper from flying off. And I know it seems like common sense. Oh, I'm not going to unzip this zipper and take the pull off. I've said that to myself 100 times, and I've done it. I've done it several times in my little sewing career. So what I'm going to show you now is, I'm just going to show you very quickly how to just sew stop on there, which is not, you know, it's not metal, but it will still do the trick of preventing the zipper from unzipping. So let me show you that. All right, I've set up my machine, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a piece of paper, you know, something that I have here that's just a little scrap. You know, literally, this is a little scrap of paper here. I'm going to put it underneath my zipper, and then I'm going to line my presser foot up so I can do a zigzag. And if you have a built-in bar tack on your machine, or if you're going to use a zigzag, you're going to choose a zigzag. So I want it to be about the length of the zipper teeth, so maybe 3-4 millimeters. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hand walk it. I've also put my feed dogs down so it doesn't advance, and I'm just going to hand walk it to make sure the needle is hitting the twill tape, oops, and also not hitting the teeth. And I want to basically sew this bar tack between the top two teeth. All right, and then I'm just going to do the lock off stitch to knot it off. Okay, after I let it run back and forth, maybe 6 or 7 times. And then let's look and see what we have. You can see now we've created a stop there, and I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other side. Again, between the top two teeth. Okay, so first, remember, this is really important. Hand walk it first to make sure your needle is not going to strike those metal teeth. All right, I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, so again, let's see how that looks. All right, so see, now you can see here, let's take a close look at this. All right, you can see here, I'm just going to cut off the extra thread I have here. And I'm just going to take the paper off, okay? But you can see now I have a top stop, and you can see I can't pull the pull off, all right? No, and the other thing is, if you're going to trim your tails really close here, I think I would hit these thread stops with some fray check. That'll strengthen the thread and it'll keep it from unraveling. So now I've got top stops without any fancy, you know, equipment, or, you know, without having an actual zipper repair kit. And after this fray check dries, I would completely trim all of these little tails off. Okay, so it's nice and neat. I'm just going to get them from the back side of the zipper. Okay, so now we've got a zipper that is shortened, and then the seam allowance for the waistband don't have teeth running all the way up to the top. So now we can then seat this zipper. You can see here now if I line up the top edge of this zipper with the top edge of my muslin, and you can see my bottom is now about 3/8 of an inch away from the bottom of the zipper allowance, I've got the perfect length for a zipper. So that's how you shorten the zipper from the top. It's not hard, there's just some steps. Measuring correctly, trimming off the extra, taking the teeth off in the seam allowance where the zipper is going to be encased in the seam allowance of the waistband, and then sewing those thread stops back on just to prevent the slide from pulling off when you're working with it. Now let's say you haven't started sewing the zipper yet and it's too long. The easier way is to shorten it from the bottom. So let me just show you here. Let's pretend the bottom stop is down here and we really want it to be right here. So I'm just going to put some chalk where I want the bottom stop to be, right? All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew a bar tack on across the zipper. I'm going to have to widen my stitch width to probably, I would say 5, because now I have to span the teeth. I'm going to put the zipper under my presser foot so the needle's lining up with the mark I made for putting the bottom stop up a little higher. And then I'm just going to walk. Now see, it's hitting here. See, I'm hand walking it. It's hitting. So I'm going to go to 6.5. And you can see that now makes it. So now I'm going to sew a bar tack. Okay, and this is my sew a button on stitch built into my machine. So I'm going to do it twice to make it extra heavy duty. I'm going to clip the thread. And let's look at that. Alright, so see how I have this nice tidy bar tack here? Again, I'm going to hit that with fray check just to strengthen it. And I'm going to put it on the top and the bottom. After it's dry, I will clip those threads that you see on the bottom. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use those same sharp scissors to cut the twill tape off. And I basically want to cut this bottom stop off. So basically I'm going to trim in close, and then if it's not completely detached, I can twist it off. Again, I'm trying to show you without fancy equipment. So see how easy I can just twist it a few times and it will come off. I can neaten this up. So see, that's pretty tidy looking. I can cut the teeth off. So basically, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut in here a little bit like this. And then I'm just going to go right underneath that thread bar tack. Again, I'm just using my little, the sharp tips of these scissors to get in there. And again, I can twist that right off. They'll pull off after you get in there. And that just makes it lay flatter, and again, there's less metal to rub underneath the zipper. So now it looks like this. And again, this is a non-fussy way to do it, right? So look how nice that looks. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fray check the bottom of the cut edges of my twill tape so that will stay nice. I'm going to let that dry. And remember I've got fray check on my thread bar tack, so that'll keep that extra secure as well. And now I've shown you how to shorten your zipper from the bottom and from the top. And just know, when you go to sew your zipper into your pants, the zipper is never going to be able to get down to that thread tack anyway, because the fly detail or the fly top stitching will come in above that. So really, this is just here to keep the bottom of the zipper closed. It's never going to be stressed because the fly detail will stop it from being zipped down that far anyway. So here is our completed short zipper. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below and I will help you. If you'd like to join me in October, check the link below for my last 3-day pants fitting. I want to thank everybody for taking a minute to watch. If you're enjoying my content, consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it helps me grow. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day.